Yo, what it do, guys? It is your boy, Leo Mookie here, back with you with another new chapter of The Goddesses and the Deku. Once again, thanks, guys, for the support that you gave me for that birthday special. It really means a lot to me. You guys have no idea how much I appreciate it. Also, I feel like some of you guys wondered, which of the Nikkes would he be in charge of? Well, of course, it's going to be that of the main Nikkes that are part of the story. After all, I mean, it's Rappy, Anais, Neon, of course. As for the other squads, you'll just have to wait and see. And trust me, it's not going to be a small number. Anyway, let's go that of a quick recap. We went over that of the origin on how Izuku, his life in this world is different from that of Canon's. As he's aged up a lot more alongside most likely everybody else in that of the future Class 1A or just the hero course applicants, because again, everybody's aged up to college level. As Izuku's life has been nothing but a living hell, as he always wanted to be a hero, always dreamt of wanting to protect and save people. Ever since he saw All Might's debut, that's all he's ever wished for. However, that wish basically was crushed by that of his idol, his former friends, by society, always. However, one mysterious man in that of his subordinates, being Nikkes, the form of soldiers for the military, basically gave Izuku a second chance, a second reason to live for if he wants to save and protect people. There's more than just being a hero to do so. As he joins the military, and even though Japan doesn't have a military, they do have a proxy military, that being the small, hidden nation of the Ark. As he joins the Ark's military, dropping out of high school while preparing for his training into the Ark military, where his journey begins. So, with all that said, let's get into this, shall we, guys? Izuku Midoriya, currently Cadet Midoriya, has basically spent almost an entire year part of the Ark Military's central government training camp to become that of a soldier, as the training was basically grueling, and I mean pretty damn grueling from a kid that struggles enough with that of physical education after all, for being quite scrawny and weak. However, this is still Izuku Midoriya, the same kid who was basically willing to push himself over and over again, and to the point that he overworked himself to reach the level where he needs to. And this Izuku Midoriya is no different. He trains himself, studies that of tactics and strategies, learns about that of every single firearm all across that of the world, figuring how it works, how to assemble them, how to reload them properly without any, misfires. And since he's that of a high school, cadet from that of Japan, he also has to make sure to keep up with that of his studies as well, since he's still needing to learn that of a high school level of knowledge before moving on to that of college level and fully military regulations as well. Also, speaking of regulations, again, the Japanese government has been struggling to rebuild their military after disbanding it, after all, since they rely so much on that of, heroes to do their work and protection. Not even the police, who are also part of keeping that of the public safe, rely so much on the heroes as well. Only a select few police officers actually do the job. As for that of the Ark military, they're the ones that make sure to take care of external threats outside of Japan from basically affecting that of the human population, so they don't get involved in any nasty situations. Izuku basically began to find out more and more that Japan is one of the few outlier countries that basically was able to rebuild their nation's military while also working well with that of with their own hero society and pro-heroes as well. Hell, the United States is literally the prime example of coexistence between heroes and the nation's military. It helps that their number one pro-hero Stars and Stripes, or Lieutenant Colonel Kathleen Bates is also in charge of her own squad of not just that of decorated soldiers, but also that of Nikke's as well, showing that pro heroes and the military can actually coexist. It just didn't make any sense on why that of the Japanese government is struggling so much. However, Izuku, on the other hand, began to understand this and understand why why his own homeland is one of those only few countries that hasn't rebuilt their military and continue to rely on that of pro heroes. That being All Might, the man that he used to see as his idol. As he still admires him for being a pro hero, but that's it. He doesn't look up to him like he used to. In a way, he can't stand him. But now, with this revelation from that of his fellow cadets, his superiors, and even that of other people living in that of the civilians from the Ark as well, even that of Nikke's, who also originate from that of Japan, explain things to Izuku, within him realizing that his own homeland is really behind the times. And because of this, Izuku wanted to improve even more. Hell, it even got him noticed by a certain, senpai of his, a cadet that was actually the highest ranking in that of his entire year. Hell, she was, because of her, top scores, her abilities in combat strategies, she's able to basically end her training early and already reach the rank of commander without having to need to go on that of multiple tours already to gain that of her rank. She also originates from that of South Korea. She took a liking to Izuku, seeing even though that they both come from that of different countries and also both their nations have that of rocky relationships. That didn't stop these two from having that of a bond. However, it was soon cut short. Right after she was able to leave the academy, a few months later, she was already deemed killed in action from a mission that went horribly wrong. Izuku, on the other hand, couldn't get the information due to him still being a cadet and was still in training, and he did not have prevalent to that information just yet. All he knows is that from that of a few Nikkes that were able to survive that mission, that it failed because she was their commander. Also, speaking of Nikkes, Izuku has interacted with at least a few, mainly that of mass-produced Nikkes. Only interacted with at least that of one or two special made Nikkes. However, he thought that they looked more like that of pro heroes, given that they had more specially equipped and they seemed a lot more stronger than your average meal Nikke. However, one of them noticed Izuku, and the first time that he saw her, it almost felt like the two had a bond. However, and to Izuku, he didn't think much of it. But little did he know that Nikke would basically become obsessed with him before mysteriously disappearing. However, even with that, Izuku's training never stopped. It never ended one bit. He kept on going even harder than before. After that, Izuku's training made him the top of his class, as he was also given the same offer that his senpai had as well. However, he declined and rather basically graduate alongside that of his own fellow cadets as well from training. Because of that, it made him somewhat popular with that of his fellow cadets, actually. Even those who used to look down on him for being quirkless, even though using quirks without that of a medical reason is prohibited after all. But even with that, Izuku, his life was looking up for him. Until once he graduates, everybody was given their ranks based on how far that they did during their, cadet training in the military. However, Izuku got the top of the class and went from that and would have just gotten the rank of, sergeant, war officer, or that of, lieutenant. He went straight into that of commander, which means he was given permission to have that of his own Nikke squad. at the age of 16, which is a pretty high achievement from somebody from Japan. Normally, when it comes to anybody that comes from Japan, on the other hand, they only get that of a few people that reach the rank, that even able to pass their, military training. Some just drop out or head back to Japan or live in the outer realm. Shows that those in Japan have become too damn soft, all because due to All Might being their symbol of peace after all. But Izuku was able to hang in there and reach the rank that he was always excited to have, which he was also given that of Nikke's of his own, 2 Nikkes and 1/3 Nikke during that of his first mission. The first Nikkes that he got to know being that of 2 mass-produced Nikkes, Idol series Idol Ocean, which was made by that of Tetra, and Soldier EG, made by that of Elysian. They would be his first Nikkes, first of possibly many of Nikkes if he gets used to them. At first, Izuku's, nervousness around that of women was basically showing pretty well. Hell, it's through almost half of his entire year-long training session, alongside that of his, teacher that was also getting him up to speed for that of his Japanese, high school education after all. Well, let's just say she was, distracting in more than one places. Most of the time, she was pretty damn strict, but then there are also times when she was way too, a lot, clingy towards Izuku. But he didn't know the reason why, though, until years later. But other than that, he's able to basically get used to being around that women. However, it's just that he's not entirely used to, them being close to him, and if they're basically touching him or basically even that of, in that of his personal space, then he basically goes red. But other than that, he can handle anything. He can talk to them properly, speak to them, give them orders, all that. Just don't be in his personal space and he'll be fine and won't turn into that of a living tomato. Besides that one little hiccup, which he would actually get over as the years go by. However, his first mission and assignment, alongside that of a few other commanders and also a lot of other soldiers as well, such as that of warrant officers and lieutenants, alongside that of 2 other commanders, alongside that of Izuku, will be having to go on a mission to rescue that of 2 other commander squads and their Nikkes, while also trying to find that of several other missing Nikkes as well. Dossier says that a certain villain has been causing quite a bit of trouble, a villain that has taken an interest into Nikkes. It's one of the main villains that has always caused the trouble for the arc, but has always found a way to slip away. Currently, this task was to basically corner him once and for all. He's currently in that of Mongolia. The Mongolian government has basically decided to keep out of this. However, they did say that they would leave that of a few pro heroes, counting that of their number 1 pro hero, on that of the sidelines in case things become too, dangerous, and it would involve that of innocent civilians. Luckily, they were able to keep him bay at that of one of the most abandoned cities during the Age of Quarks. Instead of remodeling it and fixing it up, they basically abandoned it all right and moved to that of other cities instead. Say that it'd be a waste of resources to rebuild a city from the bygone era, which makes it basically the biggest hideout for that of the terrorist, and also his in a best place to make sure that innocent civilians don't get hurt as well on the task. Currently on that of a helicopter with that of his Nikkes and that of his fellow soldiers as well, with Izuku having that of a standard firearms, 1 assault rifle, and 1 handgun. The assault rifle is the Beretta ARX 160. Basically, it's actually that of an Italian assault rifle, but for Izuku, he decides to use it for that of his first mission. As for his handgun, and a Glock 19, which is normally not a military grade weapon, actually. It can be customized to be military grade, but however, it's officially not. However, Izuku did get a modified version, given that he's more used to it during that of combat training, after all, when using handguns. So he basically made it his standard issue weapon, that all commanders must have at least one handgun on them. Everything else is optional, as he holds his ARX in his hands, within looking at his Nikkes, there being that as Ocean is on his left, with that of EG on his right. As looking at Ocean, she wears that of a skin-tight body uniform that's mix of, well, indigo blue and that of gray. Not only that, as for her firearm, it looks like that of a blue submachine gun. Not only that, unable to see her face, which has that of a huge visor helmet over it. However, seeing that of her beautiful, that of light bleach blonde hair, actually, that's almost close to that of gray. Not only that, it shows that she has that of multiple, well, medical bags around her, which shows that she's basically a military medic, which, given Izuku's track record during his time in the academy, kinda makes sense on why that of the higher-ups gave him her, to be honest. Then there's Soldier EG. She's basically another mass-produced model. Can't see her face or anything, as she's wearing that of full-on tactical gear. It seems like a mix for that of desert to that of, well, Arctic warfare, to be honest, as the outfit is definitely made for camouflage after all. She also has that of a custom-made assault rifle. At first glance, it does look like his Beretta, however, it's not. It's similar, but definitely different. Izuku is aware of that of Nikke's, as even though mass-produced Nikkes are all the same based on their models after all, however, the brains that are inside of the Nikkes are completely different. They're basically all composed of women who either chose, were forced, or either basically had no other choice if they wanted to stay alive to become Nikkes. Only those who the arc deemed as special or had the highest potential to still be useful for humanity in the world are deemed to be chosen as that a special made Nikke, like that of his former teacher after all, and the few other Nikkes that actually also trained and helped Izuku as well. But these two, he doesn't know about them. Confidentiality, that they can't diverge who they once were during missions after all. Outside of missions, it's free game. However, you just met them today, so he wants to get to know them, but it's impossible to do so right now. Within, soon, Izuku wanting to break the ice before he even got the chance, he felt like he heard something, almost like something flying towards them, before realizing that noise is a rocket. Everybody get down! Before he could finish, the helicopter basically exploded as it begins to fall to the ground. At that same time, Izuku loses consciousness as as he can basically feel and hear the flames crackling around him. As he feels like, is he going to die here? But no, he could still think. He could still feel pain. He could still feel somebody over him. Then looking up, as his eyes begin to open, he begins to hear somebody say, "Commander? Commander!" But then, hearing that voice saying, "I don't recognize it." Saying, "Commander, please, wake up! Commander!" Looking, as his eyes begin to clear up, and his vision begins to also clear up once more as well, with it noticing the person as it being that of a beautiful young woman. A young woman with that of blackish brunette hair, wearing that of a blue cap over her head. Not only that, she also having that of a white blouse that basically presents her chest quite modest, quite busty after all. She also has that of a lovely and beautiful face as well that almost looks like that of an angel. But then Izuku would basically blush like crazy having a girl like this really close into his personal space. And I mean like really blushing like crazy. However, for some reason, he feels at calm, feels at ease being around her. And her voice is so familiar, as he can't put it to words just yet, before then hearing the voice saying, "Commander, Commander, Commander." Within, the voice is a little bit higher, but still the same. Within, saying, "Please, Commander, wake up." After that, Izuku groggily opens up his eyes as he was actually dreaming about his past. Within, as he groggily opens his eyes once again, as his emerald green eyes lay that on crimson red ones. Within, the soon seeing her as the same girl from his dream. However, the only difference is that her hair went from that of a brunette black to that of a pale grayish white, with that of a bandaged over that of her head. She couldn't help but smile, saying, "Good morning, Commander," with Izuku blinking multiple times before then saying, "Right, it is morning. Thanks for waking me up, Marion." As Marion couldn't help but smile, saying, "Anytime, Commander." As she's basically, on top of Izuku right now, like right on that of his right side, on that of his right chest right now, right side of his chest. As her clothing basically is quite, lack of when it comes to that of sleepwear. Just a thin neck crochet, nightie actually, that barely even covers that of her, body, to be honest, as it's quite thin, to be fair. I mean, you woke me up, but what about the others, though? Within, soon noticing that of few other girls that are basically in that of Izuku's bed besides him and Marion. One being on his left, being that of a girl with peach reddish hair, as she's also wearing that of a nightgown. However, it's a lot more modest, though. However, it barely even covers that of her thighs, to be honest, which seems to be that of her best, alongside of her ass that's barely being covered. Then there's also a girl with that of, short brunette hair that's curled to the sides, even though it's quite messy now, as she barely is modest at all, but basically wearing that of a white tank top that barely even covers that of her surprisingly largeable breast, and just wearing that of yellow underwear. And then there's the girl that's basically on that of Izuku's right side, but basically on that of onto that of his lower abs and waist. As you can notice, it's because she's drooling, as she has that of short white hair, wearing that of pajama shirts and pants. Basically, truly the biggest modest one. She also seems a bit adorable too. However, even though she has that of a bit of a childish, playful face, her body, on the other hand, says otherwise. Not as pronounced as the others, or over-exaggeratedly proportioned, but still something that would give that of a normal girl a run for their money. Within, soon Marion saying, "Oh, just wanting to wake you up, since I can have you all to myself for now while the others are sleeping." Within, soon, the redhead girl spoke up saying, "Not quite, Marion." Within, soon both of them look at that of Izuku's left, noticing that of the girl's eyes, as she has that of orange amber eyes, as they're quite stoic and don't seem like to be too much of a, stick, and it seems to be quite serious. However, right now, they have that of a calm, maliciousness to them, even though her face is basically stoic like that of a modeled soldier. Within saying, "Oh, you're up too, Rappy. Guess we woke you up," as Izuku says this nervously. Within soon feeling that of two things basically pressing on that of his head behind him as he looks at that of Rappy, saying, "Yeah, she isn't the only one that's up," as it being that of the girl on his right, as she also has that of, bright orange eyes as well, with that of a somewhat mischievous look on her face. within saying, hey, Anais. Within, she begins to pout, saying, seriously, Marion, you couldn't let us sleep at least a little bit longer? Within saying, well, I only wanted to wake up the commander. I didn't think about waking the rest of you up, actually. Well, you haven't woke up everybody just yet. As looking back at that of the white-haired girl that's still basically drooling on that of Izuku's, well, abs. Within saying, Neon, it's time to wake up. Within, and I saying, seriously? You know how hard it is going to be to wake her up? Within saying, not quite. As Izuku basically clearing his throat while still somewhat tired, saying, Neon, somebody's trying to steal the legendary shotgun. Within, soon, hearing that, Neon basically jumps up and on that top of the bed saying, where? Who's trying to steal my baby? I'll fill them with so much firepower that they'll never know what's coming to them. Within, soon, realizing what just happened, looking down, seeing that of her commander, within saying, oh, hi, Master. And did you just say that just to get me up? That is such a mean trick to do. Within, Izuku scratching the back of his head saying, sorry. I know it was somewhat of a cruel trick, but it's early in the morning and we guess we should be getting up right now. Within, Neon couldn't help but pout. As looking at Neon up close, she has that of lime green eyes with that of a somewhat baby face to her, unlike that of Anais and Rappy that looks quite mature for their age, even that of Anais. Neon still looks like she's at least still that of a young teenager. However, her body says otherwise. Within soon getting off the bed, before then heading to that of Izuku's nightstand, where she pulls that of red frame glasses before putting them on. I'll get everything ready. Within soon, Marion saying, ooh, can I help too? I'm starting to get better at cooking. Within soon, both Anais, alongside that of Rappy, and even that of Izuku, couldn't help but wince a little bit, saying, then Anais saying, how about you leave the cooking to me and Neon? Trust me, I think it's better this way. Within, Marion saying, really? But I've been practicing though. With soon, Neon saying, it's not that we don't trust you, Marion, it's just that, well, we are just so used to doing it by ourselves, that's all. Within, Anais speaking up saying, but next time we will let you, promise, and then you'll show us what all your hard work has been paying off. Within, hearing that, and Marion can help but smile before looking at the two saying, thanks, Anais, Neon, before then cuddling up with that of Izuku. Then Izuku couldn't help but giggle and laugh a bit before patting that of her head. Within soon, Neon thinking, do you think we just basically gave her more cuddling time with that of Master? Within, Anais whispers back saying, oh yeah, and part of me is regretting it just so to save me horrible tasting food. As the two girls basically leave the commander's room, as getting a better look at that of the room, as besides his bed being that of a quite large king-size bed, with that on top showing that of a large window that could be open and closed with that of a remote button. However, also is quite large too, with that of several couches in front of a table, that of a large desk with that of multiple computers, a basically jumbo-sized TV on that of his wall, which is also acts as that of a communication line too. Automatic shutters that open up his blinds that around that of the time or day, depending on that of the hours though. And last but not least, one shower. As Izuku looks at his shower, within realizing somebody's already in it, as it being Rappy, seeing that her nightie has basically just been tossed to the side, within realizing, as he couldn't help but remember back then when they first came to the outpost, and how the girls basically did nothing but use his shower. Let's just say the water bill back then was not cheap. Before then, Izuku basically getting out of his bed, however, Marion still clinging on to him, saying, Commander, saying, hey, you're the one that woke me up. Besides, I need to see if there's any new missions that I need to get. As then, speaking of that, he gets that of a ping from that of his personal terminal, being his computer, but then saying, speak of the devil. That's one of the pings for a new assignment that I'm given. Hopefully it's not sooner than later. Looking at that of his computer, as Marion basically also follows after that of Izuku as well, as he sits down, types in that of his password, before heading to his messages, with Marion basically leaning over, feeling that of her soft and ample chest on that of his back. Within, as the old Izuku would have blushed like crazy and not even fazed by it. However, this Izuku is quite used to it, especially due to certain others as well. Within soon, the message is from that of the deputy chief of the central government arts, and in charge of that of the commando unit, Deputy Chief David Anderson. So, it looks like the Deputy Chief wants to speak to me again. As looking through his messages, within, applying back saying, Commander Izuku Midoriya, there's an important meeting that I want you to come to. At that of 5 p.m., it implies that of your next assignment. After all, it's time you be at this meeting, so you and your Nikkes would be debriefed. Please do not be late. Within hearing all this, Izuku couldn't help but say, another mission, huh? And it's going to be an early one, too. Most likely tomorrow. Well, nothing wrong with that. Within, Marion saying, Commander, don't you ever ask for time off? Saying, well, most of the time. Either my time off is helping out the others, or my time off is either spending time with the rest of you. Within, Marion basically clinging on to that of Izuku before pouting, saying, you say that they're time off, but you always help out everybody else on your days off. You barely have any time to yourself. Within, Izuku couldn't help but wrap that of his one arm around that of Marion's. Within saying, well, just helping others in need, especially if it's other Nikkes as well, is good enough for me. And if it basically keeps me out of other missions, like where you guys always either lecture me, judge me, or literally, basically, yell at me from the depths of your lungs for my mistakes and my recklessness, then I'll take it. Within, soon, Marion basically pouting even more, saying, we do that because we worry about you. Within, soon, the shower stops. Before then, Rappy comes out in that of a towel that still basically shows quite a bit of her curves, saying, Marion's right, Commander. Within, she heading to that of over to Izuku's closet, as it's not just his closet, but the girls' closet as well. Within, getting that of her combat gear, within saying, the reason we're strict on you when you do reckless stuff like that is because we worry about you and care about you. Your life is just as important as anybody else's, even ours. I think it's about time. And even after all these years, you still have a hard time getting that. And it wouldn't be just me saying this, within saying, yeah, I know. But Anais, Neon, and the others would also say the same thing. Within, soon, Rappy also saying, even Red would say the same as she was here too. Within, hearing that, as Izuku couldn't help but look down, saying, I guess so. As she got the chance to talk again, within, saying, it's been a while, but no, she hasn't spoken to me again in a while now. As saying this, she finally got her clothes on, before then dropping that of her towel, and then getting on that of her clothes. As originally, Izuku, seeing that of a naked Rappy, would be basically blushing like crazy, and basically closing his eyes. However, he's kind of gotten used to it. It'd be weird not being able to see one of his lovers basically change right in front of him. While still changing, she continues saying, so, I see that we have another mission for tomorrow. And we have a briefing within saying, yeah. And it seems to be that of a lengthy one, actually. It's going to be, I had to be there at least out of 5. So it should be done, give you guys the briefing, prepare for what we need to take care of, and soon after, soon, Anais already looking like she's almost completely done, as she's wearing that of a black one-piece leotard that, well, shows off quite a bit of her shapely legs and that of her wide butt as well, while putting on that of her black stockings too, and also that of a black jacket. Or then she puts on that of a black beret with a star on it, within saying, so we should probably get ready. You should do the same too, Marion, Izuku. Within soon, Izuku saying, right. Shouldn't you take a shower first, Marion? Why? Why not we can't take one together? Then Izuku actually couldn't help but blush at that, saying, she says it so nonchalantly. But then Rappy basically, well, crossing her arms, can help say, as much as it would save time for the two of you to take a shower together, I think we don't have time I don't think the commander has time to fool around right now. Within, soon, both Marion and Izuku couldn't help but blush at that. Within, soon, Rappy couldn't help but smirk, saying, but it's not my call to say. I'm heading downstairs. Trying not to keep us waiting, Commander. As she soon walks out with the door sliding closed once again. Within, Izuku saying, I feel like you girls are going to be the death of me sometimes. Within, soon, Marion saying, but we would never. Within, saying, it's a figure of speech. Within, soon, looking back at that of his email, saying, why don't you go and take a shower first, Marion? I'll take one afterwards. Within saying, you sure? Saying, yeah. Besides, I need to go through that of my emails. After that, Marion basically does what Izuku says, saying, okay. After that, she soon walks off before taking off that of her flimsy nightgown, showing quite a bit of her curves off to Izuku. Before that of her, well, pretty flimsy underwear as well. Before then the water turns on, as Izuku couldn't help but sigh and laugh to himself, saying the old me would have definitely, well, passed out like hell after being in a situation like this. Honestly, I'm kind of lucky. Not because I cared about that whole thing that the Japanese government was trying to push for that of people to join that of the military, mainly the ARC military. It was their biggest gag line to just get a harem. However, honestly, Izuku didn't care about that. To him, his Nikkes are nothing like that. They are his subordinates. They are that of his squad mates, his teammates, his friends, his new family, his lovers, his future wives. Not just them, but the others too. Thinking about them, he couldn't help but be blessed that even with all the scars, pain, and basically other shit that he went through to reach where he is now. Within, soon, looking at that of his right arm, as basically his hand all the way to the middle of his forearm is completely and utterly gone. As in the center of the missing appendage, basically is that of a somewhat, well, plug system. Somewhat that of a standout plug, actually. Within, basically shows that Izuku lost his arm, and that he might definitely have that of a prosthetic arm, as he still goes through that of his emails, some from that of other Nikkes, from other squads, a few other requests from that of denizens across that of the ARC, and also on that of the surface from other countries, while also seeing that of a message from his mother, Inko Midoriya, as he reads that message saying, hello, baby, I'm glad that you're doing okay. I just wish that you would come to visit more often than you normally do. Everything's fine and I'm fine too. Spending time a lot more with that of Mitsuki, since, well, Katsuki finally was able to make it into that of UA University. Here he got the top of the class when it came to that of the practical exam and even that of the written exam, proving how much of a perfectionist he truly is. But I did hear he is struggling a little bit with making friends there. I know that the two of you haven't been on good terms, but I figured you would still want to know. Please message me back whenever you can, Izuku. Love, your mother. With Izuku, for some reason, couldn't help, began to tear up. But then saying, Sakai-chan did it. He really did. After these 3 years, he finally made it into UAU. With then, looking back up, saying, and I'm basically a commander in the military. I could have achieved my dream if I worked hard enough, or basically pushed everybody's words aside and tried to achieve it. Fat chance. Over the years of being a commander, I realized my shortcomings. It wasn't that I didn't have the drive to become a hero. It's just that I didn't have the proper support to become a hero. Through the 3 years of him being a commander, Izuku basically began self-reflecting about all of his actions that led him to this point, even to the point of the kind of person he was. There are moments he did regret his actions and the things he had to do, alongside that of the things he couldn't do or was unable to stop or prevent. Izuku looked back at his life and wondered if he just tried to become a hero, tried to just strive to become a hero at any cost in any way, no matter what anybody says, no matter what people told, he would probably be able to achieve it, right? Wrong, actually. Not because of Izuku not having the drive, motivation, or determination to do it, or even just by pure and utter luck. No. The reason why Izuku could never achieve his dream is because he didn't have the true support. Those who truly cared or wanted to help him achieve his goal or dream. His mother was completely a helicopter parent, always worrying about that of her son. Nobody believed Japan is completely an idealistic, quirkless society. They don't make it seem like they're quirkless, but they are. And yet people always give Americans for being the most racist after all. At least there, they give both quirkless and that of quirked individuals fair chances to live a prosperous life. Izuku was constantly belittled and looked down upon. He didn't have a single person that basically gave him a chance to achieve his goal or helped him or believed in him. Izuku was one of those people that feels like if he had at least one person in his corner that believed in him, he would have done and gone over the moon to basically achieve his dream. Izuku is one of those people that needs that of one person to basically give him a reason to live, and he can't do it himself. He's one of those people that need at least one person to understand and help him, because he doesn't have the true motivation himself or drive to do it with his own hands without somebody supporting him, not physically, but at least mentally and emotionally. Izuku came to this realization after so many missions of him basically, suffering constantly, either from success or from failures. Just pick one. So when it comes to this realization, he knew he would never be able to make it to UAU. He never had anybody supporting or care for him, or basically gave him that of his choice of basically being able to achieve his dream. Maybe if All Might basically told him that he could become a hero, Izuku would possibly go big and beyond to basically try to achieve his dream. No matter what anybody says, as long as one person believed in him, that was enough for him. But no one did. But one person did believe in him and told him to abandon the path of a hero and choose to be a soldier. And being a soldier had its hardships and struggles as well, but he was able to achieve it. And he gained something more important out of it, even something more important than just being a hero. He gained a new, promising and loving family at the prominent age of 19. Within soon, the shower finally stops, seeing that of, Marion and that of a towel and everything. And she also goes and get her clothes on too. And she also wears that of a black dress that shows quite a bit of her curves as well, as it leaves that of her sides open to see that of her, waist and also her thighs. But, however, she has that of puffy long puffy sleeves, with that of dressed skirt that basically goes down to that of her thighs behind her, though, and also that of a, three-spiked tiara on her head. Within, she gives off that of a little twirl, saying, "I'll see you downstairs, Commander. Please don't be late." As she soon walks out of the room as well, with Izuku being the only one left, as he couldn't help but smile, saying, "Well, today is going to be a pretty interesting one, but I'm going to enjoy it while I can with my girls." Getting out of his chair before heading into that of the shower as well. Several hours later, Izuku is now in that of on a railway, heading to that of the central government building, where he'll be meeting with that of his superior, heading to that of a large and tall black building with basically rows upon rows of windows that can be seen even in that of the artificial sky of the arc. As the train soon stops, within saying, You've reached your destination. Thank you for riding Infinity Rails." Within soon hearing that cheerful voice saying, "Thanks, Diesel." Within soon, the loudspeaker goes off saying, "Oh, and good luck, Commander. Byrne was also wondering if we're all three of us are still on to our date tonight." Saying, not completely sure. Depends on the mission. Depends on the briefing. I'll let you girls know." Within, soon after leaving, one of the girls, as they almost sound like that of a child, actually, within saying, "Oh, most likely he's going to cancel on us." Within, another girl, with having that of a stoic voice, saying, "Probability of that is quite high, such being that of 82%. Possibly 85%, if my math is correct." Within soon, that of the voice on the loudspeaker from before, within saying, "Even if so, we could still." He promises to make it up to us afterwards. Knowing him, Izuku never breaks his promise. Getting that of better looks at each one of the girls inside of the main cockpit of the train. As looking at their outfits, all their outfits look like that of custom-made train conductor uniforms, with one of them with that of long black hair, the other with that of short silver hair, and the other with that of short silver hair with one of her hairs basically covering her right eye. As this being the Nikke squad, Infinity Rail, led by Diesel and her squad mates, Solus and Bran, within Izuku leaving that of Infinity Rails, within getting a cab towards that of the massive tower in the distance, and right in the center of the arc, being the central government district. Within a couple minutes later, he soon arrived, and then heads into that of the massive building, saying, "I always hated coming here, but now I've just gotten used to it." Within entering inside, before then, he's led to that of a special meeting room by that of a mass-produced Nikke, before bowing their head, and then Izuku sees that of his superiors / comrades / biggest pains in the necks. One of them at least. The other two, not so much. That of his superior, on the other hand, is kind of a mixed bag. And out of the briefing room, you see that of a woman that, at least in that of her early 40s, but also looks like that in her late 30s, as she looks quite quite that of a militaristic supermodel, somewhat close to that of the same, body type, but not close to that of Stars and Stripes, as she wears that of a white and red business suit with that of a militaristic red and white coat, as she has that of curly brunette hair and has quite that of a serious expression on her face. Also doesn't help that her outfit basically pronounced that of her large chest quite a bit. This being the CEO of Elysium, Ingrid, who has a bit of a soft spot for Izuku for certain reasons, after all. Next up being that of a somewhat small woman, actually, surprisingly. But she looks more like that of a child, to be fair. As she also has a bit of Korean features, to be honest. As she has that of black hair, wearing that of a quite revealing attire as well, being that of a purple skirt and also white dress, actually. And that of a white coat too. As soon as she notices Izuku, she couldn't help but have that of a look of pure and utter disgust and annoyance, but decides to keep it to herself, knowing that she would definitely regret it. As this being Suron, the CEO of Macilis. Last but not least is one of the most flamboyant ones in that of the room, as he is a male. As he's basically wearing that of a golden and black, spandex uniform that shows quite a bit of bright lights around him, with that of a large, bright feathery pattern on that of his suit, as he also has that of golden aviator sunglasses, with that of a goatee as well, as he's quite the more friendlier and also one of Izuku's biggest supporters when it comes to that of his missions, actually, outside of Ingrid and the deputy chief. This being the CEO of Tetra Mustang, and has the biggest monopoly when it comes to that of entertainment in that of the Ark, and also owns basically a small portion of that of Paris in France. Hell, if he wanted to, he can basically, own France, his home country of France, if he wanted to, but chooses not to. That's how stupidly rich Mustang is. Within seeing the last one being his main superior and another one of his biggest supporters. Surprisingly, he and Izuku are basically so similar with one another. This being the deputy chief of the human side of the Ark military, mainly in charge of giving out orders, assignments, and that of missions for all that of for commanders, majors, colonels, and generals as well. The only ones that he can't give orders to are those who have that of the title of admiral, which are basically ranks above him. However, surprisingly, there hasn't been an admiral for the Ark military in over that of 200 years. The last admiral died during that of the establishment of the Ark military. No one else has reached that rank in so long. As looking at that of the deputy chief, David Anderson, as he's basically a mix of a European and American man, actually, with that of long brunette hair, with that of a 5 o'clock shadow, and has quite that of a laid-back but also somewhat stern appearance to him as well. However, many don't know this outside of Izuku and a select few Nikkes, but he is also secretly the CEO of the Pilgrim Company, the top secret company that's in charge of creating the most powerful Nikkes in all of the world, known as the Pilgrims. Marion was basically a mix of a Pilgrim and Elysium type Nikke, actually. However, that's for another time. Within, soon, the deputy chief noticing Izuku saying, so you finally arrived, Izuku. Take a seat. Within, soon, Izuku sits down as he's in between that of, Ingrid and Mustang, with Siryu basically giving Izuku the stink eye before turning her head up and then that of Ingrid saying, since you're now here, we can now go over that of the debriefing and why we called you here. Within, soon, Izuku saying, so, what's my assignment? Within, Mustang saying, oh ho, getting straight into business, I see, Izuku. It's reasons like that is why I like you. But no need to go so deep. Just listen to what the deputy chief has to say. Within, soon nodding his head, as Anderson spoke up saying, about that of 2 weeks ago, certain factories all across the world have been attacked, and their products were stolen. Within, he's saying, factories? What kind of factories? Within, soon, Sirius saying, if they were just basic regular factories, we wouldn't be here, you shit for brains. Within, soon, looking at that of the short CEO, as he couldn't help but narrow his eyes, saying, Sirius-san, I didn't know you were here. You're so short that it's unable to notice you. Within, soon, hearing that, she couldn't help but gasp and that of pure and utter shock, saying, you green broccoli son of a... Within, soon, Anderson, back to what I was saying, as Sirius said, these factories aren't normal factories. They're actually Nikke factories. Within, Izuku's eyes widening in shock, saying, what? Within, soon, Ingrid saying, each of these factories on the surface, they basically seem nothing but your typical, run-of-the-mill factories that belong to that of the ARC's biggest companies within that of the nation. However, that's just the front. In secret terms, they were actually Nikke factories, mainly for that of mass-produced models, after all. Within, Izuku saying, why? Why would you put mass-produced models on the surface? You know on how people are. Within, Mustang saying, I truly believe with you, mon ami. Many of us wanted to keep that of our expansion of factories staying down here at the Ark. But turns out the central government wanted us to branch out and gain a lot more foothold on that of the surface again. For many nations basically wants their own Nikke factories. Within, so you couldn't help but also grunt in that of annoyance, saying, not to mention that a lot of, immature and startup companies think that they got the right to start creating their own Nikkes as well. Bootleg versions, to be honest. They're bigger hunks of junks than whatever we create, to be honest. Within, soon, Izuku couldn't help but narrow his eyes, as he wanted to basically insult that of Sirius, but decided to keep it to himself, thinking that a few companies thinking that they got the right to create that of their own Nikkes. And within thinking, which of these companies are basically trying to create Nikkes? Could they be the suspects for the thefts? Within, that of Anderson continues saying, that's what we originally believed as well. So we went through So during this time, before we called you in, we went through that of multiple investigations into these companies. We believe that they stole the Nikkes to see how the models work before figuring out how to transfer a person's brain inside of the Nikkes. Surprisingly, each of these companies that tried to dethrone any of the big three, we had no leads. None of them even tried. Some did, I will not lie, some have tried, but they were found out sooner than later before, no need for that of military intervention, to be honest, which I call a win. Within, Izuku can help but smile, saying, I agree on that, quietly to himself. However, Ingrid and Mustang heard this. With Ingrid couldn't help but smirk before it basically fade away. With that of Mustang couldn't help but nod his head over and over again at Izuku's words. Within soon, Mustang saying, however, we were able to gain at least some footage after the weeks of investigation. Turns out it was an inside job. Somebody was able to hack into that of each of the factory systems, bypass them, and stole at least that of two Nikkes, two models actually, from Elysium. It was they stole that of a soldier EG model alongside that of a soldier FA model as well. From Macilis, they took that of production number 12 model and a production number 23. From Tetra, they stole that of an Idol Doll Sun and an Idol Doll Ocean. Those were the models that were taken. Within saying, did they take one of each? Within soon, that of Ingrid saying, from our sources, no. They only took that of one model from one model each from that of the factories. They didn't basically take over a dozen of them. probably knew that they would be caught sooner or later if they basically took more than one. Surprisingly, they were able to take two from one series after all, and it's all from from the mass-produced models. Within series saying whoever thinks that they can take our products has another thing coming. Not to mention, they would need to basically place human brains inside of the models for them to be useful. Sure, you can possibly put that of an AI intelligence or possibly even a VI in them, but it would be that useless. Within Izuku saying, right, I remember that. There was that time when somebody tried to take that of broken down Nikke bodies and then tried to infuse that of AI intelligence inside of them to make them easier to control, and blame the Ark for that, us trying to start wars all across the world. That was one hell of a mission, I will say, but it's impossible to do so. Nikkes were basically so complex that they need human brain to do so, to work the bodies after all. As Anderson continues saying, that's where you come in though. We want you to retrieve these models. However, there's a chance, and I mean a small chance, that they may figure out a way to use them. Even if they use AIs and they won't be at their true potential, they're still Nikkes. They could still do a lot of damage to a normal person. And given our upgraded technology as well, thanks to your efforts, Midoriya. Within Izuku saying, right. I'm guessing you all finally put them into that of mass-produced models besides upgrading that of the special squads. Within soon, Ingrid couldn't help but grunt in that of acknowledgement. With that, Mustang could help but say, we did. What you couldn't help but huff too, saying, don't need to tell you shit, you quirkless bastard. With Ingrid saying, I would hold your tongue there, Siryu, you petulant child. Within saying, hey, I'm now 21. Don't call me that. Within soon saying, you're still a child in my eyes, you insolent brat. Show the Midoriya the respect he deserves. After all, he saved your ass more times than he can count, and he didn't even need to. Within saying, oh, you want to go, you old bitch? Within soon, Izuku saying, please, both of you, stop. Within Anderson saying, I have to agree. Your arguments is basically pointless. Within saying, also, besides, you and your Deku squad will be taking care of this. However, you will be having at least some help. Within looking at that of Ingrid, before she soon nods her head saying, you'll be having Guillotine and Maiden on for this mission as well. Their quirks that allow them to basically control and manipulate Nikkes would be perfect for this job, even if they do use artificial intelligence to control the mass-produced models without that of proper human brains. Within Izuku saying, so Extrinsic will be the squad I will be in command of besides my own. It'd be good to see that of Maiden and Guillotine again. Within soon, Ingrid saying, make sure that those girls don't get themselves in trouble, especially Guillotine, as they both say at the same time. Within saying, so I'm pretty sure that the model, even though that the models were taken, they still had that of tracking systems inside of them, since they're mass-produced models. So within soon, Anderson saying, quick on the uptake as always, Midoriya. But yes, we were able to track them down. They tried to cover their tracks as much as they could, but they couldn't keep that of the emergency trackers on them once they're activated. And when they were activated, they are now in Japan, actually. But then Izuku saying, they're in Japan? So what about the commanders and squads there saying, as much as we would want to send that of other commanders and their squads to take care of them, the Japanese government has basically made it sure that to not take care of internal threats. To them, the Nikkes in their country are an internal threat that they should handle. And yet, they're stupid enough to not realize that that quirks alone aren't enough to take down Nikke's even half-baked mass-produced models. Within, Izuku saying, so that's where I come in. Because my squad goes against everything else. And I can basically bypass many of the government laws as long as I use my authority. God, I hate this when I use this. Within, soon Siri saying, lucky bastard. I would basically abuse the hell out of it. Within, Izuku saying, yeah, because I'm not a spoiled, insolent child like you. Saying, oh, piss off, you fucking quirkless bitch. With Izuku rolling his eyes saying, well, whatever. Any rate, within, soon, Izuku salutes saying, I, Colonel Izuku Midoriya, in charge of the Counters Division, and leader of the Deku Squad, will take this mission. Within, soon, Anderson salutes back saying, that's what I like to hear. You'll be leaving and heading back up to the surface tomorrow early in the morning. Make sure that you're ready, because you're not going to get another chance at this. Don't be late. Saying, understood, sir. After that, Izuku soon walks off. Before then thinking, so, somebody ended up stealing mass-produced models. Not only that, it seems like the arc is really trying to expand on the surface now. And the rumors about that of companies on the surface trying to make their own Nikke models as well to rival that of the Big Three. Or rather, Big Four, I should say. Counting Pilgrims, too. Maybe I should get the Goddess Squad into... Wait, no. I shouldn't use my authority like that on them. They've been doing their job perfectly. No reason to basically bring them all together for something so minor like this. Me and the girls can handle this. Alongside that of Extrinsic as well. We got this. Then, soon, Izuku basically slamming his fist into that of his prosthetic right arm. Saying, I know I do. Just you wait. Another mission, another job taken care of. As long as I can protect the innocent, that's all that matters. After with those words, Izuku heads back to his base. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Love to read them. Sorry that this wasn't a fully packed, action-packed chapter, and also that the first half was basically nothing but Izuku flashback / dream after all. Honestly, as much as I would love to basically go through, like I told you guys before, I'm not going to go through a lot of the plots of, well, Nikke after all. As much as I would love to, like I said, I'll mainly just be doing that of flashbacks on certain characters, certain missions, and all that other stuff too. Everything takes place in that of the present time where Izuku is already a big shot within that of the Arc military. And he already gained that of the hearts of all the other, well, Nikkes. As for those Nikkes and the squads, well, I'll basically explain that in the community tab. It would be too damn long if I go through all of the Nikkes in this video. So yeah, at any rate, if you guys like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification to get to date my videos uploaded to the channel. Also, please check out my Discord, gaming channel, main channel, other channel, Patreon, and Cash App. All linked in the description below. So, with all that said, this is Leon Mookie, signing out. Later, guys, and hope you all take care.